The Marketing Motivations of the Hispanic Consumer, Work and Household Finances by Christopher Plummer. I'm Christopher Plummer, and this is the third in my series of videos about the motivations of the Latino consumer from the marketing standpoint. So, without further ado, let's get going. From the 8Fs model, this video will deal with how our population of 62 million people make their living and their consumption patterns. Then, because after all, this is the F for Finance video, I'll dive into the banking and credit issues that many first and second generation Latinos confront. Typically, male Latinos over-index in the construction and service occupations. A significant number of Latinas also work in services, but they also do well in professional and office occupations. Although Hispanic household income is catching up to the national level, we are still about 25% below the national average. The key household expenditures are housing, transportation, food, utilities, and healthcare. Latinos are very important in the nation's housing and car markets in particular. And of course, loyal and family-oriented Latinos send large amounts of money home, and those of Mexican origin living in California send their remittances in large part to the northern Mexican states, like Baja California and Sinaloa, while those living in Texas have their relatives in border states like Tamaulipas, Coahuila, and Nuevo Laredo. Remittances are a significant feature of the financial system for Latinos, and deserving of a separate presentation. But they are a good segue into a discussion of financial services and banking and the issues that typically confront the Latino population. In this section, I'll describe how the Hispanic community interacts with the banking and credit systems and the important alternative financial system. Latinos use the financial system as does the general market, although they under-index in all segments, and this is because many of them do not have access to mainstream credit services. It's well known that Hispanics are avid users of their smartphones, so they over-index on many mobile banking activities. Latinos have been early adopters of new financial technology, such as Apple Pay and PayPal. However, one of the crucial issues in Hispanic life is that a significant share of the population has no access at all to traditional banks, and almost half are what we call unbanked or underbanked, as we shall see shortly. This, of course, leads to a heavy reliance on cash, prepaid cards, and alternative financial services. Prepaid cards are primarily obtained from stores, the amazing array of cards we see for Netflix, Apple, and others at the checkout of a supermarket. But some employers assist their workers by depositing pay into payroll cards. The reasons for being underbanked or unbanked are given as having insufficient funds to meet minimum balance requirements, due to large families and stretched budgets, not necessarily due to lack of overall spending, a lack of trust in banks, from experience in countries of origin and concerns about immigration status, and indeed lack of certain documentation, a social security number, or identification. A lack of knowledge about the fundamental importance of good credit in the US economy has resulted in not staying current on bills as a major obstacle to credit, often due to quite trivial delinquent accounts. This leads us into a discussion of alternative financial services and the possibility that fintech, financial technology, may disrupt the financial services market to the Hispanic consumer's advantage. The services that Hispanics use more than the general market are, for example, short-term personal loans, check cashing services, pawn services, money orders, and these services charge high interest rates or commissions and can result in grave consequences if they are not kept current, like the loss of a car used as collateral, which in many cities is essential to get to work. The benefits of AFSs are friendly, bilingual service, the physical presence in the community, and these stores are sometimes very well liked in the community, few identification requirements or paperwork, and the speed of service. The typical barriers to access in the financial system are not speaking English well, the cost of maintaining accounts, for example, monthly service fees, which may lead to unexpected overdrafts, the relatively unknown presence of bank account reporting companies like CheckFree and CheckSystems, and a small overdraft may remain in the file for 5 years and lead to rejections of applications to open a bank account. A lack of credit history or lack of knowledge of the credit reporting system. Now, bill paying, such as phone, cable, light, or rent, is usually only reported to agencies when in default. Generally, it cannot be used to build a credit score. Insufficient official identification is a common problem, and possibly exclusion areas that are not necessarily intentional, but that do exist. For example, the absence of bank branches in certain neighborhoods, and a historical tendency and lack of infrastructure to write mortgages in certain neighborhoods. The principal barrier to accessing a better life is the credit score. Without the reliable use of traditional lending services, like consumer credit, it is not possible to build a good credit history. And conversely, without a credit score, it is very hard to access traditional lending services, or insurance services for that matter. First and second generation Latinos have little awareness of the credit scoring system or of its importance. Unbanked and underbanked Latinos lose various ways to build a better life without access to the traditional financial sector. Consumer credit, mortgages, and home equity loans. And within the traditional financial sector, interest rates for homes and new cars can be very low, for example, 4% for mortgages. But using AFS, annualized rates can reach 100% or more. There may be potential for the Hispanic consumer in new financial technologies. Ways to disrupt the usefulness that people find in alternative financial services are very welcome. They're expensive. Fintech may be able to provide services to Hispanic consumers in a more affordable way because of a lower cost structure, universal availability, no discrimination based on physical appearance when somebody walks into the branch, and almost all Latinos have smartphones. However, Hispanics may believe that using a fintech app means that they are participating in the traditional banking and credit system, when in fact, they are not. I hope that you have found this discussion of Latino work and household finances interesting. For more information, please give me a call. Hasta luego.